A historic ceasefire agreement took effect on Sunday morning, ending 15 months of relentless Zionist war against Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip. However, doubts remain about Tel Aviv's commitment to the truce, given its history of violating agreements done on Saturday. Israeli Premier Benjamin Netanyahu hinted the ceasefire was temporary, stating U.S. President-elect Donald Trump had assured him of full backing to resume the war. Netanyahu added that Trump intended to lift restrictions on U.S. munitions, enabling intensified aggression. Hardline Israeli ministers Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich fiercely opposed the truce, calling it a surrender to Hamas. Ben-Gvir's withdrawal from the ruling coalition left Netanyahu with a fragile majority, escalating political tensions. Between the announcement of the ceasefire and its implementation, Israeli aggression claimed over 120 Palestinian lives, including 32 women and 30 children. Experts doubt the truce will hold, citing it as a victory for Hamas after 470 days of relentless attacks. Beyond Gaza, Israeli violations extend to other regions. In December 2024, Tel Aviv violated its 1974 agreement with Syria, seizing demilitarized zones and plundering water resources. In Lebanon, Israel breached a recent ceasefire with Hezbollah over 500 times, killing over 30 people and wounding 40. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun condemned the attacks as violations of international law, encouraging immediate Israeli withdrawal. Israel's long-standing pattern of breaking agreements includes the 2008 Gaza War, triggered by an Israeli raid despite Hamas adhering to the truce. Subsequent wars in 2012 and 2014 saw repeated Israeli breaches, with ceasefires followed by further attacks on Palestinians. Hopes for lasting peace remain slim, not due to Hamas, but because of Tel Aviv's continued violations
We
and
call on
aggressive
mediators
policies.
to interfere as soon as possible to keep the ceasefire on so we can live normally in the Gaza Strip.